Hey everyone, welcome to the Field and Garden Podcast. I'm Jessie from the Gardener's Workshop. Today I'm featuring an excerpt from Lisa's live show called Seed Starting Saturdays. If you haven't ever watched it, Seed Starting Saturdays was born out of necessity during the pandemic. This series provided a way for Lisa to make an appointment to get her weekly sunflower planting done, while also creating an opportunity to interact with her followers live and answer questions. This episode from last summer covered a broad range of topics, including sunflower succession planting, cool flowers fall preparations, and post-harvest cut flower care and conditioning. So listen in, and I hope you enjoy.
Good morning, friends. It is Seed Starting Saturday, and it is your friend Lisa Mason Ziegler here today, and I'm in a little different spot, aren't I? You're kind of seeing a little of the behind the scenes here in the work building. So we've had a lot of craziness going on inside this building, redoing our set for our live shopping show on Fridays at noon Eastern time. If y'all aren't joining me for that, you ought to hop on. You can download the phone app, get in there. I mean, yesterday was crazy busy, wonderful. And anyway, if we haven't met before, my name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I am just thrilled that you've decided to be here with me today. We meet here every Saturday morning to start some seeds. Usually, sometimes we do other things. Sometimes we just talk. But if anybody has questions, just post them in the comments, and I will get to those at the very end. So if you are new here, I am the head bottle washer here at the Gardener's Workshop, which is started out as a little urban flower farm back in 1998, over almost 25 years ago now, almost. And it's grown into so much more. We are now a big education and demonstration garden, as well as we have an online garden shop for the same tools, seeds, and supplies that I use and you hear me talk about, as well as we have online courses. Whether you're a gardener, a farmer, want to start a flower business, we got it for you. So friends, let's see, what should I update you on? So, if you don't, I'm just going to tell you this. If you don't already get our newsletter, I would highly recommend that you sign up. It's once a week, Wednesday afternoons at 4:00, and it's like a front page of the Gardener's Workshop. It just gives you lots of highlights. Then you can click on the pictures and go to whatever you want to learn more about. It's usually there's some how-tos, the latest blog, maybe the latest podcast. So it's kind of like a clearinghouse. So I will welcome you to, you can sign up for that at thegardenersworkshop.com. What you're seeing in the background here is just some of what I had for my show yesterday. The shop and show on Fridays, which happens inside our app, I'm showing our harvest from that week, giving you like the 411 more information. Yesterday, our followers actually voted for us to bring back Lysianthus seed into our mix, which will happen this fall, probably, or during the winter. And so we have a lot of fun at that show. And so I was showing these individual crops and talking more about them and, all kinds of good stuff. So that's what you're seeing behind me here. Old Tucker's here at my feet, and he also is a little disrupted. See his tail here, by all this change up. He doesn't adjust to change very well. So what we normally do here on Saturday mornings is, see, he just freaks out, y'all. On Saturday mornings is to, at the very least, start our weekly sunflowers. So our weekly sunflowers are something that we learned years ago as a commercial flower farmer, that the secret to having sunflowers every single week to sell is to have to start them every week. And the key to that is to start the same variety and at least one of the same colors every single week, so they come in like clockwork, right? And we're Pro-Cut fans for a lot of reasons. They're quick from seed to bloom, 55 to 60 days. Most of the colors, there's about 13 or 14 colors. Most of the colors have super stiff necks. They're long lasting in the vase, and they're just awesome. And so what you see over there are a different variety, which if you want, you can actually get our phone app and watch the replays of our shop and show. And friends, you can go to the individual flowers that I talk about and watch the video clip that's for that flower so you can learn more about it. Anyway, I'm a Pro Cut fan in general. And in addition to Pro Cuts that we plant each week, and I change my color selection up based on thinking ahead to when they're going to be blooming. So guess what I'm going to be starting today for the first time this year is I'm going to be starting our fall medley mix. That's a mix of the Pro Cuts that we make in-house. And it has, I have to read it because I always forget. It has the Pro Cut bicolor, the Pro Cut red, which actually the Pro Cut red looks more like chocolate. You know, it's that dark color. The lemon bicolor, the Pro Cut plum, which is one of my favorites. That's like a clear lemon yellow with blushes of plum color on it. The Pro Cut orange and the Pro Cut, oh, red's listed here twice. Oh, Pro Cut red lemon bicolor and Pro Cut red. These are like made for fall. So we're going to start half a tray of these, and then I'm going to start half the tray in my weekly Pro Cut bouquet mix. What's in that? That is the Pro Cut orange, the Pro Cut orange XL, the Pro Cut horizon, which is the orange, but it's with upward facing blooms, and the Pro Cut brilliance. We named that, we make these mixes in house. We named this one the bouquet mix because this mix alone is an awesome sunflower mix. The orange XL is a different hue, as is the brilliance. And it's just all really trying to make simple, quick, fast bouquets, whether you're doing them for market, for subscriptions, your kitchen table, or for your church. And the other thing that we're going to talk about this morning while I'm sowing these seeds is, friends, it is the transition time here. We are moving from, now I'll keep starting sunflowers up until about 45 days before my first expected fall frost. So that means I'll be doing this through September, every single week. But we are gearing up for cool flowers, and we will talk about that. And while I need to label my tray, I'm always using our garden marker. This is made to be used in UV rays and moisture outside, and it actually sticks. And this is just masking tape, friends. Masking tape is awesome for staying on my trays, as well as holding this. All right, y'all. So let me figure this out. Let me not talk for a minute. So today is the 16th, right? And this is bouquet mix. And then the other one we're going to start is medley mix. It's called the fall medley. And you can find both of these mixes over on our website, thegardenersworkshop.com. And they come in regular and jumbo packs. And totally love the convenience of having several of targeted colors in one package. Really, really helpful, especially if you're a home gardener and you want to have more of a selection, but you don't want to buy a bunch of different seed packets. So we're going to put these on the side of my tray, and let me just show you my tray here. So this is what we're starting, and these are 128 cell. That refers to how many holes are in here. This is a 128 cell pack. You can find these over on thegardenersworkshop.com also. And they come in 5 packs. Sorry, y'all. I'm thinking about what I'm doing and what I'm talking about. It's a little early on Saturday, and this has been one heck of a week. So you always want to identify. You think you might remember, but we never do, right? So I'm putting the tape on the trays so I will know. The date is super important because that'll give you a little bit of an idea of when they're going to bloom. Like out in the garden, the practice that we've really started this year is we're working on some big photo shoot projects. We need to kind of know mentally when stuff is going to bloom. So we have 12 and 18 and 24 inch, I think, garden plant markers. And we're writing the variety of whatever, that I just did and the date. but we're also writing the number of days to bloom because it's not always me that's out there looking. So let's give it a whirl. We're going to start here with our sunflowers, and I'm going to turn this down so y'all can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what we kind of talked about yesterday on our shopping show, which is this is the transition time when we start to really start ramping up for cool flowers. And now we already have friends, followers, and customers that have already started cool flowers. Those folks that live in really northern regions that are getting their transplants started. So I just posted, let's see, you can find on our website under the blog, there's a cool flower category. And under that category, the first thing that comes up is called the Cool Season Flower Chronicles. That chronicle page, which was actually a series I did of 5 30-minute videos over 5 weeks, is loaded, y'all, with all kinds of resources. It has webinars you can request that I did on cool flowers. It has the planting guide that Suzanne made. The book is there that you can click through. I believe they even have the cool season. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more row. We have also the link to the cool season flower category on our website. So you can see all of the cool flower seeds that are, because there are additional ones from when the book was published, right? So this is the fall medley. And the fall medley is just those great fall colors. All right. So cool flowers, one of the biggest challenges that I know that people face, I know this because I get constant direct messenger messages, DMs, and Instagram. Our email box for the business is loaded with people asking, is it too late? Can I still do it? Friends, we have to think about a season ahead. So we have to be thinking about spring and late summer. But I really think about it back in January. I already know where my cool flower garden this fall is going to be planted on my farm so that I don't plan my fall blooming garden where that garden needs to go, right? That's one of the biggest challenges that I hear from people is, oh my gosh, my flowers are spread all over my garden and I don't have anywhere I can rip out. Folks, you got to figure that out. You have to plan ahead, right? So let me put this back together so I don't screw this up. All right, so I've dropped one seed on the top of each cell, and now I'm just going to take my fingers and push it onto the seed and push it halfway down into the cell. Sunflower seeds sprout best when they're covered with soil and they get put with some heat. And so after I do this, I'm going to take this tray into my grow room where my heat mats are. I'm going to water this tray really well. And then I'm going to pop this tray up on the heat mat, and that'll make my sunflowers pop in like 36 to 48 hours quickly, evenly, and get all of them to pop at once. And I don't have to worry about varmints. I'm reading a lot of people talking about setting their trays outside, in the heat because it's so hot outside and everything. Y'all, that's all fine as long as you don't have squirrels, birds, and rabbits. They'll clear a tray in 20 minutes of all your hard work. So I like to pop it onto a heat mat. Once they pop there, then I'll put them out into full sun on the porch, protected from varmints, and they get planted out in the garden when they're 2 to 3 weeks old. The way that we know when it's time to plant them is when you pull on the stem and the whole cell contents just come up easily. You don't feel like you're going to rip the stem out of the roots. And that's another thing that I didn't really realize this until people started reaching out and asking the question is part of what I feel like that early heat on the seedling heat mat does for sunflowers. It gets a robust root system. A lot of people complain that theirs just never get that robust roots. It's all about heat, y'all. Sunflowers love heat. And so popping them onto that heat does more than just to get them to pop fast. So they grow to 2 to 3 weeks old. As soon as I can pull them and the whole thing comes up, then it's time to plant them. You don't want to go beyond really 3 weeks. We plant them into beds that have already been prepared with dry organic fertilizer. You can find that on our website if you need it, and learn more about it. It's the same that we use here on the farm. It's private label packaged. And we plant 5 rows of sunflowers in a 30-inch bed. So that means that they're basically 6 inches apart between rows, and they're 6 inches apart in the row. And we do not use Bio 360. That's the biodegradable film that I use most often in my garden, but not for sunflowers, because you have to think about this. These sunflowers are already a third of their life is over by the time you plant them. And there's just really no need for that. So we plant them at that spacing. We use the flower support netting as a planting grid. We remove the support netting as soon as we're done planting. We hand water them in. We do not even put irrigation down because we get so much rain here in southeastern Virginia. You may need irrigation. And then we also do not net sunflowers. Sunflowers would benefit from netting for sure, especially if you're a small grower and you're counting on those sunflowers. But we are willing to take the risk. We plant so many so often. When we were planting 1,200 a week for 26 weeks a season, we just couldn't net them all. And then worse than that, we couldn't unnet them to bush hog the bed, to till, to flip the bed quickly to plant something else. And then we have sunflowers in 55 to 60 days. And now I want to show you the one sunflower, we didn't plant any today, that we plant. They have the same timeline that Pro Cuts do, but we don't grow them, if I can get them out of the bucket. We don't grow them for the big showy sunflower. We grow them to be filler. Y'all have heard me talk about them. These, friends, are the Sunfill green sunflowers. This, let me pull it out so you can see what we're talking about here. This is what we're growing this for. Imagine this filler in a bouquet. You're not going to fill a bouquet with these, but to have one of these to go in each one of your weekly sunflower, each of your weekly bouquets will be awesome. I mean, it takes up a lot of space, and look how cool they are. So they almost look like a succulent. They have all of these layers, and those are called sepals. And that's the layers of green that's around the bloom that's in there. Now, I think I've probably shown you in the past what these guys look like when they go on to bloom. They're kind of funky looking. My sister adores them. But this is what we grow them for right here. And we plant them. When we had our bouquet business, we had 250 mixed bouquets a week to supermarkets, as well as multiple straight bunches of flowers to supermarkets, plus a subscription. And we did farmers markets and supermarkets at the same time sometimes. Having these every week to have at least 2 trays, that'd be 250 of these, one to go in each bouquet, was priceless to us. And the other thing I want to show you before I start looking at everybody's messages, have y'all seen this before? Does this look as magical to y'all as it does to me? This is not hairy balls, friends. These are seed pods dangling. This is Love in a Puff. You'll find the seed over on our website. And I will tell you that no one is more, if y'all notice, this was cut yesterday morning. See how hydrated the foliage still is? So my sister Suzanne and I learned about this vine, golly day, 15, 20 years ago. I talked about this on the shopping show yesterday. We learned about it when we were at this place called Flower Camp, which is no more, y'all. And this was one of the flowers that we could choose from to use in one of the activities was making bouquets. And so my sister did a chandelier, which you can see on the seed page on our website, thegardenersworkshop.com. And they did a chandelier in this. Oh my gosh, y'all, it is blooming gorgeous. And so in addition to being an amazing addition to arrangements out in the garden, this is like fairyland out there. Super easy to start from seed. It's fairly quick. I don't know the number of days. I think it's like 70 days. So it's too late. Well, depends on where you are. It may or may not be too late to start it this year, but I totally recommend it. We have it growing in a pot with a trellis, which it's not bought. We call it puffin. It's Love in a Puff is the name of it. And we call it puffin once it starts really getting puffs. And those are the seed pods. And they go on to turn like a pumpkin color. But I mean, for as far as it is right now, this is definitely my favorite stage. It's awesome as a cut. But let me give you a little tip about growing it as a cut. My tunnel, which has it growing on there, is much too jumbled. They're too thick. I should have thinned them. And if you want to grow them to cut them, you should focus on growing them straight up. You know what I mean? Keep them kind of organized. It's just they grab onto everything. I had a heck of a time finding that one yesterday. But we are pleasantly surprised that the foliage hydrates as beautifully as the whole stem does. I thought I was going to have to strip the foliage. So Love in a Puff, and you'll find that over at the gardenersworkshop.com. And so, friends, let me go back. Let me get rid of this. My sister doesn't know it, but I'm sitting here at her shop and show workstation. So I'm really trying not to get too much dirt on her side. So stand by and let me get this out of the way. I was really careful. And you know, that's one thing I haven't really mentioned about the sun. Oh, it is a little dirty here now. Let me get rid of this. One of the things I haven't mentioned about starting the sunflowers, you really, when you're filling your trays, your plug trays with soil, you need to really clean the top of your plug tray, which I did that this morning, extra focused because I didn't want to get so much on her table. But friends, potting soil is one of the most expensive things. So the potting soil that's in the plug tray is 50% just any potting soil and 50% compost. Tucker got up and moved because I was hitting him with dirt. So cleaning the top and the edges of your tray so you're not wasting a lot of it. Potting soil, especially when you use as much as we do, is really one of the most expensive portions of all of this. So let me go back here and see if we have any questions. So if y'all have any questions, just post them on here and I will give you, I will do my best to answer them. So I see we have folks from all over. Is it me or is the urge to start cool flowers killing you? So funny you should say that. So we actually have started 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 4 cool flowers. One is we already have our cool season cut kale here. So we've got our kale that grows into a tall cut flower for fall, already started. And that's about this tall. And we're starting, you know, I know this is really confusing for people, but there are so many different types of Sweet William. We offer 2 different types. One is the true hardy annual, which means you can start it from seed in the fall or during winter or in very early spring. Start it, plant it, and it blooms in 16 weeks. It does not need any special cold treatment. You start it, you plant it, it blooms. Then there's another type that's actually it's a biennial, and that means it needs more focus and attention, and it needs to be started. Do y'all like my new glasses? These are I call them my daddy glasses. These glasses are like my dad had, reminds me of him. Those are called biennial Sweet William, and the variety that we sell, that is my number one, Dave Downing and I both agree that this is our favorite Sweet William. It's called Electron, and you can find that on our website. Sorry, y'all, now I got my nose itching. But it needs vernalization. Vernalization is a cold period. And according to Dave, you have to start Electron by early August. So for once in our life, we are actually on time. So we have actually started Electron and we've started our kale. We won't be starting the rest of our cool flowers for a few weeks. However, you can believe I have all my cool flower seeds lined up. I know where I'm going to be putting them. And you have to figure out when you're supposed to start your cool flower seedlings, what you're going to be planting in the fall, what you can plant in the fall. I just did a podcast this morning that'll be coming out Tuesday that it's the cool season checklist. And it kind of talks about this list of things that we just hear people kind of not having trouble with. So I went through that. And friends, it might be time to pull out your cool flower book, get refreshed on that. If you don't have it, get a copy. Go to our blog at thegardenersworkshop.com. Go to the Cool Season Flower Chronicles and refresh. And the key is you fall plant what is winter hardy in your winter hardiness zone. And then you got to figure out when you need to have those transplants ready to go in the ground or seeds to grow in the ground. And friends, it's so much easier than we tend to make this very complicated. Susan, at what stage should you cut the sun-filled sunflowers? If you cut them when the flower is still closed, will it open? Yes, it will. And see how you can barely see the center? This is why there's green and there's purple. I don't usually grow the purple until maybe in late August. I'll starting those because they have their foliage is just a darker color, and their center is darker. That is the center of that sunflower you're seeing right there, and they will continue to open. The petals may or may not develop, but I'm telling you, this is what we grow it for, to have this foliage that is well hydrated, long lasting, to take up space in your bouquets. And the other secret about sunfill, as well as some of those specialty color sunflowers, is I put a splash equivalent of about 2 tablespoons of Quick Dip, which is a hydrator. And you can find that over at the Gardener's Workshop, because it does not just Pro Cuts. It is any specialty color sunflower tends to have a weak neck, as all branching sunflowers tend to have. And a splash of Quick Dip in your harvest bucket and let them sit in that for at least 4 hours before you do anything makes these guys' neck. I mean, if this hadn't been put in Quick Dip, it would be bent big time right there. So that is another great tip there. What was the name again of the sunflower used for greenery? So the name of the variety is Sunfill, and it comes in 2 colors, green and purple, and you can find them both over on our website. And we also have a mix where you can get a mix of both of them if you want to not buy both packs, and just have one. Y'all see that white Cosmo right there? That is my new all-time favorite. It is afternoon white. It is the biggest buds, biggest stems, biggest flowers of all the Cosmo. That Cosmo turned me back to Cosmos. We now grow 14 varieties of Cosmos here. And you can find all those over on our website. And when you treat Cosmos right, they can be a tremendous asset to your flower business. How much Quick Dip in the bucket? So the equivalent of about 2 I put 1 gallon of water in a harvest bucket, like that tan one right there. I would put about 2 tablespoons of Quick Dip. And you don't want to leave the stem sitting in that for 7 days. So for instance, if you're a home gardener and you're using a small container and you just leave it in there and take it in your house, you want to move it over to flower food. You can leave it for a couple of days, but at least for 4 hours. 2 tablespoons to a gallon of water, which is what is in our harvest container. Word vendor, I don't know how you keep up with your content. Well, it's because I have a lot of help and a lot of help. And yeah, I don't keep up with it. They shoot me ideas and I create, and I'm just so grateful, the great team of people that we have. All right. Here's a great question from a Facebook user. How do you keep the worms from eating your kale? That is one of the benefits of us having restored the natural order on our farm. We don't have much of a problem with that anymore. I will tell you, we have an incredible colony of native wasps here. Most wasps, the wasps that terrify us all, me included, they used to, eat meat. They eat other insects. What is their number one delight for their own meal and for their babies are caterpillars. Back when I used to do programs, I have a video showing of a wasp going down the line of our sunflowers, checking each sunflower bloom for exactly what you're talking about. Those moths that lay their eggs on our flowers and our kale and our broccoli and our cauliflower. They lay their eggs, and those eggs launch into a little caterpillar, which is what eats your leaves. So we don't have to do what I'm getting ready to tell you anymore. Vegetables Love Flowers tells you about restoring the natural order of your garden. You know, that book is really about a 3-season cutting garden, y'all. Anyway, so until you restore that order, BT, which is a biological, it is organic certified, and it truly does not target anything. The only thing that gets exposed to the BT in your garden are insects that eat your leaves. They eat it after you've sprayed the BT, and it like freezes up their digestive system and they go bye-bye. So you either need to do one of 3 things: restore the natural order of your garden, which you can start today, but it's still going to take you a couple of years. Then you can employ a couple of things. You can row cover your kale or your broccoli or your cauliflower immediately after planting. The problem with that is you might overheat your plants in this time of year, right? So it depends on where you live, whether you can do that or not. The rest of us, the product that I used was called Dipel. That's Dipel. It's a dry powder. You just mix it up and spray it on. And I don't think they had really great instructions about how often. And so, frankly, I did it just like I do weekly fungus gnat treatments in my grow room in my watering can. So I could get on a schedule and stick to it. I sprayed the Dipel on we had that worm eating problem on ageratum, zinnias, marigolds, and kale back in the day. And I had a backpack sprayer, and I would spray those things once a week. I think you might be able to go every other week, but of course, if it rains, it washes it off. And that breaks that whole cycle of you having so many of those caterpillars in your garden. But that's how you stop them. So as a precaution, you plant your kale out in the garden, you treat it. You don't wait. You treat it from the get-go, and that way you do not have damage. Last year we grew, we'll have kale seeds back again soon. The ones that we grow are the ruffles. They're just gorgeous. We had 0 damage last year, and we did not have to use Dipel. But anyway, so that's a long story to a short question, right? Question: can you give a brief overview of what treating Cosmo right means? Sure, I can. That means A, do not ever fertilize them. You'll just grow great vegetation and not many blooms. You have to cut them. These are how you want them to look in your customer's house. You cut them just as the buds start to bust open, and also cut them early in the morning. And cut deep just like you do zinnias. And Cosmos put on the best show starting this time of year, midsummer, to when frost is. They are just like dahlias. They love it as the days start getting shorter. We have 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 successions of Cosmos on this farm, because as you all may have already heard me say this, I'm working on a big project, and we have a photo shoot like once a month for the next 9 months or something, and you want to have Cosmos constantly. But I will tell you, the fall Cosmos are the best, and that's why yesterday during the show I was highlighting this afternoon white, and the other awesome fall Cosmo is Rubenza. You'll find that on our website too. Rubenza is I don't want to say it's a wine color, but it kind of is. But it's like a pair of denim blue jeans. It fades a little bit. I am in love with that one. I'm in love with all of them. I mean, we have started so many cosmos on this farm this year. But the key is to harvest them early in the day, to harvest them in bud, get them indoors into conditioning. We harvest them into CVBN, and then they move over to holding solution or to flower food, depending on where they're going. And I took some in my house, and I got much longer than 7 days out of them. That's been everybody's complaint. They're so short-lived, but people cut them too late. They don't cut them at the right time of the day. And I just really, really love them. So hopefully that'll get you going. Hi from Norway. Hello, Norway. Lisa, I love your Cool Flower book, but had big success with your method this year. I am so glad to hear that. You know, friends, we have people all over the world. And I'm just so grateful that Amazon sells everywhere, even though we aren't able to. So DK says, I just read your book again this morning, getting ready to plant. So I will tell you, friends, that when I am direct sowing, I only direct sow out in the garden in the fall. I don't do it any other time of the year. And I'll tell you quickly why that is, because somebody will now ask. So first off, the next window for cool flowers is very early spring, and that's like 6 to 8 weeks before your last spring frost. It's far too cold out in the garden. It'll just sit out there and wait. You don't get the plant going like you should. So that's why I don't do it then. Then people say, you mean you don't direct seed zinnias or sunflowers or anything? No, because the weed pressure is such a handful, as well as you have to irrigate. And we have less labor, quicker and better success walking out there with transplants. It is far easier work to do that. So I take my Cool Flower book. This is a joke. I mean, they need to get a picture of me doing this. I actually have an image of this. I carry my Cool Flower book out into the garden when I'm direct seeding, like, does a seed get covered or not with soil? So y'all aren't the only one. I have to refresh. So I say July is the month of waking your Cool Flower inner you up and figure out what you're doing. All right, here's another question. What variety of mountain mint do you grow? I do not know the variety name, but I will tell you this. You cannot start it from seed. You have to buy a plant. And most often you can find it at native plant sales, at master gardeners or native plant sale places. But if you cannot start, there is one type that you can start from seed, but that's not the kind that we're all starting. And it is very invasive, just like every mint is. So you need to keep that in mind, but it's priceless. If there is one foliage that you want to plant, that is the one. And that could have a whole discussion in itself. How Jenny Love and I talked about years ago about ways to stagger it. You can't succession plant it. It's a perennial, right? Anyway, but that's what you want. You have to buy plants, and you only need 3 little plants. Plant them where you can contain it, and then it'll take off in a couple of years. What about amaranth beetles? Well, they're not amaranth beetles. They're every beetle within a mile of your amaranth is attracted to amaranth. Amaranth, we actually don't normally grow amaranth anymore because of this. But because of this project, I'm growing them, and I will tell you they are covered in beetles. There's not really anything I can do about it. I mean, we would never treat. You can't really treat effectively for those. It's so harmful to treat, and it's not going to solve your problem. That's what I weigh. And so we strip the foliage 100% off of those cuts. But were it not for this project, I would not be growing them here in the South. They are beetle magnets. We have a called pigweed, a native invasive. I'm not sure it's native. It's just an invasive reseeding amaranth here. And that's why we don't grow dahlias anymore. If you want to grow dahlias, you better not be growing amaranth, because amaranth brings in all the dahlia pests. So I don't have any words for you except don't grow amaranth if you've got big beetle issues. That's kind of like thrips, which is another big problem, and gladiolas and Shasta daisies. If I have Shasta daisies or gladiolas present on my farm, I can't get rid of thrips. They harbor there. So You know, there you go. Cosmos. Well, it depends on, so the way that you figure out, is it too late to sow something? You need to know the days to bloom, from seed to bloom, and how long before the end of your season. When is your first frost? And then you need, several weeks to actually harvest. So you'll have to do that counting. All right. Question from 7B. When is the earliest you start your blocks for cool flowers? Have all your books and love them. I grow just to gift to friends and neighbors. Oh, Denise, that's so nice. So Denise, that 100% depends on your frost. So my first frost is mid-November. For transplants, this is not true for direct seeding. I tend to plant later than earlier, always, because it's too warm nowadays. And you have to have transplants ready to go in the ground. Typically for me, 4 to 6 weeks before my first fall frost. The cool flower concept is 6 to 8 weeks, but I would rather be planting later into cooler conditions than to still have it be too hot outside. So then I start my cool flower transplants about 4 weeks before that, and that's when I do that. Are there cool flower that you can winter sow? Well, I don't know if you're talking about out in the garden. Where I am, if your ground's not frozen, you can plant cool flower transplants pretty much all winter. I have planted in December, I have planted in January, and I do plant in February. So totally depends. You have to have non-frozen ground and prepared beds. Even so, for that very early spring planting, you have to prepare the beds 100% in the fall. In very early spring, for most of us, the ground is frozen, covered in snow, or at the very best, too wet. And you can't prepare soil. So yes, we start cool flowers all through the winter, and you can plant them out in the garden. Andy, no fertilizer while cosmos are in soil blocks either. I will tell you that I have not fertilized my cosmos at all this year. And maybe that's part of it. So that's kind of an experiment I'm doing. So, all right, friends, I'm getting off here, and hope everybody has a great week. Please subscribe to my channel if you're on YouTube. Share this if you're on Facebook. And check out Field and Garden Podcast. And I hope to see you on the Shop and Show app. All right, friends, till we meet again. Ciao.
Okay, welcome back. I hope you soaked up some great bits of info there. Now, the Seed Starting Saturdays series is being retired this month, but all of Lisa's prior shows have been archived, and we created a playlist for them on our YouTube channel. I'll put a link to that in the show notes for this episode. Watching these videos is a great way to gain knowledge, but I've also found them to be a great companion while I do my own seed starting, so I encourage you to check them out sometime. If you like what you're hearing here on the Field and Garden Podcast, we'd love it if you'd tell a friend about us and leave a review for us wherever you get your podcasts. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Jessie from the Gardener's Workshop, and I hope you have a great day.